My name is Paddy Delaney. Myself and my wife came all the way from Ireland for this conference, and we're certainly finding it worthwhile. And Santi, you came all the way
From Sydney, Australia. So there's going to be a test at the end of this. What you understood of what we said.
Yes, we want you all to pass. Okay, so look, this is I think we'll all agree this is a really, really important topic about engaging the disengaged in financial planning. I'm delighted that Santi and I are getting to have this fireside chat, and it definitely feels like we're sitting beside a fire in this heat. But yeah, so I suppose just to put it in context, who are the engaged? Why is this a problem, and why is it something we should be thinking about?
Yeah, Paddy, it was. So I've 24 years in the industry, 14 as an advisor. I built a TAMP and recently sold it. And my experience kept telling me that we are speaking, the financial tech and the words we're using is speaking to the wrong spouse. So this simple idea that we've led with a numbers business really around the alpha. We've got better products, better investments, and we really haven't been speaking to the non-financial spouse who wants to talk about things that are not about that.
Okay. And ultimately, is it that there's a massive opportunity here for financial advisors, or?
Notwithstanding, I think we're in a generational opportunity in financial advice. I think it's the most extraordinary profession to be in. I think it should be the most noble profession in the world. I think what you guys do is better than a doctor. Quite frankly, you know more about your clients than the doctor. You have more influence over the quality of their life than a doctor. But we just haven't had the tools really to engage them about the stuff that matters.
Okay, so I'm a financial advisor in Ireland, run a small financial planning firm, and I lead with planning, right? If I was to put my hand on my heart, is everybody engaged in that financial planning process? I'd probably have to say no, despite my best efforts, right? So, and I've done the George Kinder stuff, and I've done all that sort of stuff. So, where does this problem lie? Why are people not engaging?
I kind of look at it as that technology is being built by, again, that numbers industry, but we've built stuff for the first 3 months of the customer relationship. So everything we've built to this point is about how we onboard the client, how we engage them, how we sell them. And I'm cool with that, right? I've been an advisor.
Has to be done.
Yeah, we've got to sell them. But the opportunity really exists. How could we build something for that 30 years of the customer experience? How could we build something that's for that entire lifetime of that relationship?
But sorry, that's what financial planning and cash flow modeling is meant to do, though, right?
Right. But I can sit there as an advisor like I used to, and I would get to know my clients just as good as equally to all of you, I'm sure, and spend a whole bunch of time empathizing with them. But the hard truth was, I knew what I was selling them when they walked in the door. They honestly met a good person who got to know them, and I spent a whole bunch of time getting to know them. And then they got invested in what I was going to invest them in, pretty much regardless of what they said. Now, that hurts to say it, right? It hurts my values, it hurts who I am as a person, but that's the facts. Instead of having a process where I was literally able to sit down with them and understand truly what was important to them in their lives and bring that to life, and use technology to engage them around that. So, I've met more advisors than you could possibly imagine, having built a TAMP business and just sold it.
Sure.
They're all brilliant, but it's very notepad dependent, it's very people. And we make a fundamental mistake, which is not our mistake, it's just the industry's the way it's been structured, is I can sit here and have these wonderful conversations with you about what's important to you, but then I'm going to give you a log on to see how you're going to your investments.
Okay. So is there a disconnect there?
There's the disconnect, right? I've just spent a whole bunch of time trying to understand what's important to you, empathizing with you, engaging both the spouses, and then the next minute I give you a log on to see how you're going to something I have no control over.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts when I thought about it. And I'm not the sharpest guy, sharpest tool in the shed, right? But when I sit down and think about it, I go, all the stuff that engaged them, the reason why they bought you, the reason why they bought me, was because of that human connection and that relationship we had with them, that incredible empathization, or whatever that word is, that we had in that moment. And then we anchor it in something we got no control over. Okay. That was the bit that went to me. That's just nuts, right? Yeah. That's nuts that we're not heroing the reason why they bought us.
Okay, so we're going off the boil, so to speak. We're warming them up, we're engaging them really, really deeply at the outset, and I think that certainly resonates with me, and it does with a lot of people that I've spoken to in the industry or the profession. But it's consistently delivering and consistently lighting the torch, so to speak, on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and this disengaged that I like talking about, there is, if I went and asked you how many clients you looked after, you would all have a number, right? You say we look after 300 households, right? In my mind, those 300 households have 1,000 clients. And currently we're talking to 300 clients. We're not talking.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Well, the traditional mum and dad come into an advisor.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little bit careful what I say here, but in my parents' generation, it was mum and dad. Dad was the financial spouse, mum was the non-financial spouse.
Okay.
My generation has shifted a bit. The millennials are shifting back, which is quite shocking to hear that women are disengaging from advice because we're leading with the stuff which is alpha.
Okay.
And I think about that in that context. Alpha is I've got better investments, I've got a better numbers game, and beta is I want to help you lead a better life.
Okay.
And that disengaged wants to talk about that. Now we got, the stats out of the US are quite kind of extraordinary, right? You guys know them as well as I do. 70% of women saying they're going to fire their partner's spouse on their death.
Their advisor or their spouse?
Their advisor, fire the advisor. Yeah,
maybe both.
Both, but they're shocking stats, right? 70%.
Yeah.
And that just leads to me, why I was thinking about this years ago was we got to engage that person. And what they want to talk about is life. They don't want to talk about money.
Okay, so they want to talk about life and they don't want to talk about money. What does that mean, though? Like, how do you engage that person? Talking about life, talking about their goals, or is it deeper than that?
Well, let's go to the millennials, right? So we did a piece of research years ago, and we're 2020, and we found out, and basically this sums up how they were feeling, which was we can't have our parents' house, part of the property price boom that we've seen around the world. We can't own our parents' house, but we can live our life closer to our values. And that was kind of pivotal to me in understanding what we'd missed. They want to talk about their life, and all credit to them, quite frankly. When I heard this, it was hard. Like, I wanted to own my parents' house.
Okay.
So I worked my butt off for 20 years to own my parents' house.
Sure.
And they're basically saying, we want to live our life closer to our values and enjoy life. And
Less about the material.
completely less about it. And so what we uncovered really is that values are really driving how people feel.
Okay.
That was the critical piece, that if we could help people identify their values, then we can align everything that's important to them in their life.
Okay.
That's where I talk about the non-financial spouse, right? That person is desperate to talk about life. And I had technology available to me to talk about investments.
Okay. And I think it's really interesting, you mentioned values, right? In my own experience, financial advice in Ireland is a decade or more behind financial planning in the US in terms of its progressiveness and holistic approach. There's a vulnerability in talking about values and even broaching that subject. If people come to a financial advisor, in the traditional sense, it's generally with a product, or it's a numbers-led conversation. If an advisor can often feel very vulnerable introducing values into that conversation.
And here's the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There is a 50% of your customer base that want to talk about their values in life. That's what they want to talk about. And if we look at the stats again, more US stats than Australian, but businesses aren't growing organically. They're going backwards. You take out market performance, they're going backwards.
They're going backwards.
There's an extraordinary opportunity here to communicate to the other half of the customer base that is dying to talk about the things that are important to them and to get them referring. We want to talk about organic growth and driving that. Let's get that person walking out of an advice meeting saying, you have to go see Patty because Patty just spent an hour with me understanding what's important to me in my life and didn't talk about investments or anything.
Absolutely.
And that's the opportunity. And I even think about it even if you have a traditional investment-based business, cool. 1.5 of your year, you're going to talk about the investment stuff and all the great things you're doing there. But that other half of the year, that meeting, we're going to talk about your life.
Okay.
And that's where we drive organic growth. We've been trained to talk about the numbers, where the true opportunity is just to sit back and ask people why that is so important to them. Why that is so important to them.
Okay. But is it difficult or indeed repetitive to have that conversation on an ongoing basis? So whether it's an annual planning meeting, we're going back to the values piece, have they changed, or how does that work in practical terms?
I think most advisors I hate having the conversation around investments and performance.
Yeah. Particularly at the moment.
That's all they've got. right? And
Yeah.
particularly at the moment. And that's all they've got, right? That's what it's grounded in. The whole customer experience is grounded in that. I would much rather be sitting with my clients and saying, tell me how we're going to your best life. How are we going to your values? How are we driving to your goals? Are we on track? Have you hit your turning point in life where you're going to make a trade-off decision?
Sure.
That's the true value of advice, making smart decisions at those turning points. And unless we have technology that supports that conversation, it's then stuck in a notepad in the filing cabinet like the first 3 months of every piece of technology that's currently created around. It's not living where the client lives, it lives in your filing cabinet. We need to bring that to life and have the conversation there.
Okay. It actually reminds me of a piece of Michael Kitz's research where they looked at what clients value most from an advisor, and the clients said the number one thing they value is that the advisor helps me reach my goals, whereas the advisor said they value most that I have the technical skills and knowledge, right? So I think it shows that disconnect perhaps.
And maybe an amazing opportunity for any of you that think I've got half a brain, that to deliver this stuff, you don't need to be an advisor. To have a conversation, I got an example of an advice firm that I still own in Sydney, where the customer service officer is the person sitting down with mum and dad and having a conversation around what's truly important to them in their life. Now, that's not an advisor's job. It doesn't need to be an advisor's job. So now you start to scale your business because the team are now servicing the client. And this part that we've got all the evidence that clients love having and are desperate to talk to you about them and what's important to them can be delivered by your team. It doesn't have to be an advisor. The advisor's got to give the product stuff, the technical stuff. I could also counter this argument and say that the most valuable people in your business will be the people who have this conversation. They're the ones you're going to pay the most. And the technical person, who I once was, will sit in the corner and we'll drag him out when we need him.
So it's these value conversations that clients will value most, we're saying.
That's what they want to talk about. And definitely that non-financial spouse, they're desperate to have a conversation with you about what's driving their heart and their DNA, what's in there.
Can I maybe just get a show of hands from advisors, those that do consistently have conversations with their clients on an ongoing basis, not just upfront, about values and about those really meaningful things? Okay, so a reasonable percentage. What are the barriers to people advisors
same as
doing?
I did, right? It was so cool to see so many hands go up. But I still had to go put it into a filing cabinet, and then my experience was still anchored in the stuff.
Sure.
And that's where the light bulb moment for me was. If all the evidence I had was that those clients wanted to talk about that stuff. They were the ones referring. They're the ones that are telling their friends, you're not going to believe the meeting we just had. But I had no technology to support it. There was not a place where I could go, that stuff we talked about 3 years ago, and you said this was important to you. Look where we're at. We've got it all live in one place. An extraordinary opportunity to engage that client who's been unintentionally disengaged to this point.
Unintentionally. And there was a quote from Annie. She was on stage down there first thing this morning, and she said, if you unintentionally exclude somebody, you intentionally exclude them. And I thought it was really interesting. So how do we intentionally include these people that are disengaged in our process and how we go about doing what we do?
I've said it. I remember meeting an advisor in Miami in December, and he said, no, I do all this stuff. When I've got him and her in the room, I make sure I'm looking at her all the time. I'm going, mate, you're not getting it. And honestly, I wanted to, you're missing the point here, buddy. It's not about staring at them in the room. It's about truly understanding what's important to them. And heroing them, and I use the word hero, and I don't know if it's a term used in the States that much. In Australia, it's more of a normal term. But that person, heroing that person, I can guarantee you, they will walk out and buy you. And in my mind, it was as simple as this. An industry sells, right? So I was an industry salesman who knew exactly what I was selling the client when they walked in the door, and I'm ashamed to say it, but it's true. A profession serves. A profession listens and truly understands what's important to those people, and then with that information creates that guided solution. Same as I go to my, if I go to my butcher, he's going to sell me his best piece of meat. If I go to my dietitian, they're going to sit there and listen to me and understand what's important to me and maybe suggest I don't need meat. Same scenario, right? And probably I probably need to hear that, to be honest. So, that the opportunity to sit with that client and listen to them, they will buy you. I can guarantee what will happen is the client will sit there and go, how do I work with you? That'll be the first thing they say. No one spent so much time trying to understand us. Every other else hasn't spent this time. So they'll buy you straight away. So there's the cool sales point. And then they'll tell their friends. And that's the organic opportunity that I think is a once in a lifetime opportunity. All the stats are backing it up. It's a slap to the face currently, how bad we've done to engage the disengaged.
Okay.
And if we can grab hold of it and run with it, all these firms here, I just see organic growth coming through the door.
Okay.
They're going to tell their friends. We know they're going to tell their friends. We know they're going to say, you're not going to believe the conversation we had with Patty. Wow, right now we've nailed it.
Okay.
And we've been leading with, a book that's never going to be written, The Financial Advisor Who Picked the Winning Investments. And if it's written, I'll tell you, I'm going to use it for bedtime. It's not going to be written. And that's okay, right? That's not our job. Our job is to make sure we've made their risk profile and that we've given them the best chance of success. But our real opportunity is to be better than that doctor and grab that opportunity and show these people that they can live an extraordinary life. And that's the value of great advice.
Absolutely. Fully agree. So helping them live that extraordinary life, how do we connect those values and those conversations with the financial plan, with the product, with everything else that has to go into the advice piece?
So there's the subtlety between selling and serving, right? You guys all get this. I've served my clients. They've told me what's most important to them. So the plan's written. The client just said, this is the stuff that's most important to me. My job's done. I just need to listen it and help them achieve what they want to achieve. So it's the easiest job in the world, really, if we stop and listen.
Okay.
I mean, I've been around a bit too long, so I might be a bit archaic here, but I was trained to sell.
Yeah.
And that sucks, right, to say it, but I was trained to sell. And if you just sit and listen, they will tell you everything. The thing that's been missing to this point is that we haven't had the technology to grab what they just said and hero that in the platform, and hero that what drives them in life. Okay.
So is that what you guys do ultimately, is bring that piece to the table and help structure
that? That was it. It didn't exist in the world. No one had thought of doing it. Just seems a big hole. I kept looking at my client base going, there's 50% who are bored.
Okay.
And we needed to hero what was important to them in a place. I always sort of dumb it down in my mind that you could have a tech stack that speaks to alpha, and you could have a tech stack that speaks to beta, or beta, as we call it in Australia. Have one that talks to the non-financial spouse, and have one that talks to the financial spouse. This one will be costless because you'll get so many referrals and leads out of it and so forth. And this one, well, we know what that one does.
Okay. So I have my own experience of the positive impact for me personally in having these conversations with clients, with not all clients, but with as many as I can. Positive impact for me in terms of my sense of enjoyment from the conversations, and the feedback from the clients, and then actually seeing them going and living according to how they actually really want to live. What's the feedback from the advisors that you've worked with?
Yeah, well, Patty, you're a little bit younger than me. So firstly,
small bit,
just a little bit. So I think what an extraordinary opportunity to grab younger advisors, show them that we're a very values-driven business, that come and work for my firm. This is the way we do it here. It's completely different. How to attract more females to our profession. We've got 20% participation or thereabouts. The accounting profession has 51% in with females to males. It says a lot. There's something in that. I won't bring it out today, but you look through that. It says something not good about our profession, right? We're not attracting women because we're not leading with the right stuff. So we want to attract more females. We want to attract more younger people to our businesses. We want to systemize it. Can't be Patty dependent, right? Because Patty dependent means I've got a business dependent on you. Yeah. So how do I create a process that can replicate you using technology, not your skill set? Yeah. And so that's, again, another opportunity commercially. If you think about how you want to grow your businesses, one of the things in every business I've created is you've got to fire yourself as quick as you can, right? And that's the opportunity if you can grasp it. Fire yourself by using technology to make you look better than you currently can do by your own skill set.
Right.
That brings the younger people through really quickly. I don't now need to sit and listen to you for 5 years until I've worked out how to empathise properly. The technology supports the conversation.
Very good. Okay. With that, I think we're out of time. But I think absolutely anything that helps us walk the talk when it comes to financial planning and helping people live truly meaningful lives for themselves, I think is fantastic. So thanks a million, Santi, and thank you to you guys for your time and attention.
I hope you understood what we said.
And hope you understood what we said. Now we'll pass the test around now in a moment. Thanks a million.